Tonight we delve into a curious and, I must say, rather unsettling fairy tale from the mid-19th century. I'd ask you to forget what you know of modern retellings. This is a story from a different era entirely, one of ornate language, strange and terrible magic, and a profoundly cynical view of human happiness. This is the story of the Palace of Revenge.
Our story begins, as so many do, in a world of seeming perfection. In the court of Iceland, after 2 long decades of waiting, a princess is born, the beautiful Imis. And, as if by design, Cupid himself provides a prince, her cousin Philax. They were raised together, and as the text tells us, the first sensations of their hearts were mutual admiration and affection. Their love was a foregone conclusion, a perfect match in what seemed to be a perfect world.
But of course, in tales like these, a perfect present rarely guarantees a perfect future. The queen, anxious for her beloved daughter, travels to consult the famed fairy of the mountain. In a magnificent castle she is received, but the true answers, she learns, lie with the fairy alone, upon a remote mountain summit, deep in profound and perhaps unsettling study.
Now the fairy, you see, is unable to alter the decrees of destiny, so instead she offers protection. She gathers a bunch of lilies of the valley, which will never fade, and fastens them in the princess's hair. As long as you have them about your person, she says, they will protect you from all the ills with which you are threatened by fate. A beautiful, simple charm against an unknown and terribly complex destiny. So let's take stock, shall we? We have a perfect love, seemingly destined for happiness, and a powerful magical ward against all misfortune. What could possibly go wrong? The queen is given tablets of palm leaves to be opened only in the king's presence, and what they contain is not reassurance, but a chilling riddle.
Just think about that for a moment. She will miserable be through too much felicity. Misery, born from an excess of happiness. This is the central baffling paradox of our story. It is an oracle that confounds the king and queen, who wisely decide to keep its troubling contents from the young lovers, allowing them to bask for a time in their delight.
But this idyllic world, as you might expect, was not to last. One day, as Princess Imis walks alone in a labyrinth of myrtles, melancholy over Philax's absence, she hears a voice that seems to answer her very thoughts. And the imagery here is just so wonderfully strange, isn't it? This is Pagan the Enchanter. He confesses he has loved Imis from afar ever since he was hidden in a tulip she once gathered. He is a rival of a different sort, not of flesh and blood, but of pure magic. He pleads his case, but Imis, ever faithful, dismisses him completely. Pagan, however, does not give up so easily. The very next day, 12 tiny nymphs on honeybees deliver priceless jewels to Imis's chamber, and with them an emerald of marvelous beauty. Inside, etched upon a single rose leaf, is this poetic vow. It is a declaration not simply of love, but of a terrifying obsession. So Imis, to reassure a jealous Philax, gives him the emerald, and together they tear the rose leaf to pieces. It's a small act of defiance, really, but one with catastrophic consequences. Days later, as Philax stands alone by a fountain, he takes out the emerald. The moment he does, it falls, transforms into a chariot, and winged monsters emerge from the earth to carry the helpless prince into the sky. And here we see the tragic fragility of their protection. When news arrives that Phyllis is gone, Imis faints from grief. In the haste to attend to her, a lady-in-waiting removes the magical agate of lilies from her hair. Instantly, her protection vanishes. A dark cloud envelops her, and she too is gone, leaving the court utterly bereft. The lovers are now separated, each condemned to a unique form of torment. Imis awakens in an opulent underwater palace, a gilded cage where Picetta showers her with unwanted affection. Philax, meanwhile, is abandoned in the dismal forest, a place of perpetual night, utterly alone, and surrounded only by despair. Let's follow Philax's story, where the despair only deepens. For nearly a year, he wanders this dreadful wood. One evening, he discovers the ruins of an ancient castle, and within its courtyard, he hears plaintive voices in the night, though he sees no one. The next evening, the voices return, and he realizes they are coming from the trees themselves. Driven by frustration, Phyllis strikes the nearest cypress with his sword. He is about to strike again when the tree cries out with a human voice. The cypress, it turns out, was once a man, a prince, and he has a story to tell, a story 2,000 years old.
The cypress recounts his terrible tale. The cruel fairy Siora, an ancestor of Pagans, enchanted a gallery of mirrors. Any prince who saw her reflection within them fell madly in love. But when one spurned suitor, our cypress, smashed the mirrors in a rage, the spell was broken for everyone. As punishment for their infidelity, she transformed them all into trees, leaving them their minds to suffer for eternity.
And with her curse, Siora makes a chilling decree, connecting the act of breaking a mirror to the infidelity of a lover, a superstition that echoes from this ancient, magical tragedy all the way into our own world.
Just as the cypress finishes its story, Philax is suddenly transported away. Pagan, you see, is frustrated by Imis's unwavering constancy, and so he devises one last desperate scheme. He shows her a vision. Philax, in a beautiful garden, throwing himself at the feet of a lovely nymph. Imis cannot hear their words, she only sees the act. Believing Philax unfaithful, she falls into despair, and yet still she will not love Pagan.
And so, Pagan conceives his final revenge. It is a punishment far more insidious than that of his ancestress. He will not separate them. He will not turn them into trees. Instead, he will give them precisely what they have always wanted. He builds a crystal palace, fills it with every delight imaginable, and transports them both inside. Their prison is to be paradise itself.
This inscription is engraved upon the palace walls with a single stroke of Pagan's wand. Their sentence, you see, is not for infidelity, but for its opposite, for their constancy. They are condemned to an eternity of togetherness. And at first, they think themselves on the summit of happiness, even blessing the enchanter for what they believe is his mercy.
But the years pass, and the prophecy of the Fairy of the Mountain comes true in the most terrible way imaginable. They become miserable through too much felicity. The very thing they most desired, uninterrupted time together, becomes their curse. They come to wish as fervently for the magic to destroy the enchantment as they once did to preserve it.
And here, the tale simply ends. It offers no escape, no resolution, just this final, bleak observation that even perfect bliss, when made eternal and inescapable, can become a torment. It leaves us to wonder about the very nature of happiness itself. Can it endure its own fulfillment? A provocative question from a story that is, in the end, far more a dark fable than it is a fairy tale.